Hello friends, I hope you're all well today. I certainly am, because I have some good news for you all. For a very, very long time now, of course, Wikipedia has had almost a sole monopoly on basically being the encyclopedia of the internet. Now, obviously, it started out as, like so many things on the internet, as a very, very good thing, and then was slowly but inexorably dragged into leftist corruption and basically becoming a propaganda tool for them online. And so you can see it was created here by co-founder Larry Sanger, and then eventually turned over to the leftists for their means. I'll just let Larry speak a little bit on this.
Neutrality policy before Wikipedia was even conceived of, and then Wikipedia inherited it from Nupedia. Wikipedia made a real effort at neutrality for, I would say, its first 5 years or so, and then it began a long, slow slide into what I would call leftist propaganda. I mean, it's a harsh description to put on Wikipedia, but at least a lot of the political articles read that way now. But that's because they follow the news media, at least they have done in the last 10 years or so, 10 or 15 years. They've gradually gotten rid of all of blogs, and then more recently they've gotten rid of almost all conservative news sources as sources for their articles. And so as the news media has shifted, and as the establishment, frankly, has shifted more to the left, the content of Wikipedia has followed suit. It would have been hard for me to accept that this would happen and that it would be so striking, even 10 years ago. I mean,
all right, thank you, Larry. So really what we have here, of course, is him talking about the fact that there is kind of a blacklist on certain conservative sources of information. And what's more as well, because of the sheer prevalence of left-wing or just legacy media sources, really what you have is the entire language of Wikipedia. When you read through its sources, they're all couched in left-wing terminology, and they view morality through a left-wing prism. Now, a good example of this is, of course, this story from a few years ago, where you can see that one of Finland's most notorious serial killers has been declassified as female by a trans activist Wikipedia editor after identifying as a woman. And this is someone who killed 4 women and raped multiple girls. And so obviously in this way, my God, it might have been a rapist, but, to go back to the Ricky Gervais joke, it's her penis, you bigot. And so this is really all you've got, right? All of the Wikipedia knowledge is filtered through a very, very dedicated left-wing workforce. And obviously, much like Reddit as well, anyone who was not even going to be explicitly right-wing, but just had some aspirations of neutrality, was slowly ushered out of the platform. Of course, it's not just the use of pronouns as well, although I will just hark on the fact that, of course, as well as just the words themselves, right, and the actual framing of narratives on Wikipedia, no one but a progressive, no one but a far leftist would create this Wikipedia page. No one who's looking at objective reality would talk about transgender genocide, which is, of course, not a thing, and is given there's no ideas or suggestion in here that transgender genocide is a conspiracy theory or that it is being debunked. Though if you were to go on Wikipedia and type in something to do with, I don't know, enormous demographic replacements happening across the West, and some theory that a French writer might have come up with to create a specific term for that sort of theory, which I'm not entirely sure whether or not I can say on YouTube, so that's why I'm pussyfooting around it. But it will tell you within the first paragraph that that is debunked, that it is wrong, and also will frame it pejoratively to basically tell you not simply what it is, but how you should think about it, how you should feel about it, always with emotionally charged language to sway you in one political direction. Another example here, of course, is the fact that no one but basically an Antifa nutjob would dedicate an entire Wikipedia page to Donald Trump and fascism, right? And Donald Trump being a fascist, but as you can tell, this one is quite extensive. And so what's more, of course, like so many things, you have this position where, well, because Wikipedia, a lot like YouTube, was very much unrivaled and no one could really take it over, nor could they build a rival platform to it. Well, now, as with many cases, Elon Musk and his team have done just that. And so we finally have Grokipedia, of course, version 0.1, which is now live. And he assures us that version 1.0 will be 10 times better. And I believe him, because this certainly does, when you go onto it, feel like a training exercise. You can see in its style that it's very much based on Wikipedia itself. Sorry, I don't actually have a keyboard here to type anything in. But you have Grokipedia, and basically for some of the things that I've labeled there, or just gone through with you, you see that it begins by simply explaining the thing to you, right? That it totally dispels any of the emotionally manipulative language and basically just makes it something that tries to stress the actual facts. Now, I've seen many various people online talking about the fact as well that, well, let's just go to the Wikipedia page for it, shall we? Ironically, because Wikipedia were very quick to put out a Grokipedia page. And if you go over to their reception of it, this is case in point why something like Grokipedia had to exist in the first place. So as you can see here, it says, reception to Grokipedia after its launch was mixed, with some observers questioning its claimed neutrality due to AI's potential to reflect creator biases. Critics have highlighted entries that promote right-leaning perspectives or favor Musk's viewpoints. NBC News noted that the Grokipedia entry for Musk did not mention the hand gesture he made in January 2025, which many viewed as a Nazi salute. They've learnt nothing, right? This is what it all comes down to. So within the reception, obviously, first and foremost, it says that reception was mixed, but proceeds to highlight only negative feedback and criticism of it and says nothing of the positives. What's more as well, it also points out the fact that really what it's criticizing is the fact that it is simply a place where right-wing views can be heard and given a fair hearing, very much as the left have obviously created this platform for themselves to do. And what's more as well, it couldn't be a better example of the fact of, wait, it doesn't immediately mention the fact that Elon Musk autistically threw his arm in the air. And what's more as well, could there be a possible better case study than them whining on Wikipedia and saying, what? It doesn't straight away mention the fact that Elon Musk autistically threw his arm in the air at a rally in January. But then how can we possibly link him to Nazis? Right, that's all this is, right? It's like we can't use this to link our political enemies to stigmatized ideologies, long dead ones that no one with any discernible power actually believes in anymore. And it's basically saying we can't use this as a tool to basically slander our political opponents. And so, of course, it goes on and on with many examples. And you can see here, by comparison, you have the way that the January 6th is talked about in Wikipedia's language versus, of course, the much more methodical, much more neutral framing from Grok itself. And this is, of course, what's more as well, obviously, a good barometer for all of this is how Reddit have reacted to it. They're certainly not happy at all. And so, obviously, it's early stages. There are definitely niggles with Grokipedia. There are problems with it. Some of its sourcing, like what we have with Grok, seems a little bit hazy in places. But it is, after all, version 0.1. And that 0.1 of a step in the opposite direction of what Wikipedia was doing is still a very, very good first step. And I'm sure a step for 1.0 will be an even more positive one, of course, in the coming months and years, as this is constantly innovated upon. So, yeah, just once again, thank you very much, Elon, for making this. Because frankly, the level of corruption at Wikipedia and what they've been allowed to get away with, and also when you listen to Sanger speak as well about the fact that you obviously have an entire blacklist of perfectly sensible sources that Wikipedia doesn't allow for, when you obviously have the fact that they manufacture consent for their own articles, as they did with the Trump and fascism one, where you basically, some new left-wing journalist writes a piece for the New York Times, and that basically just gives you license to create an entire Wikipedia page on it. And also the fact that it never seems to regard left-wing dictators as dictators, but will obviously have no harm in doing it for more classical right-wing figures like Franco. Well, you know, it's all transparent. We can see what you're doing, Wikipedia, and we don't actually have to go through with it anymore. There is an alternative space now where people can go to. And ultimately, you know, you see a lot of whining online basically saying, oh, well, it'll crash and burn. Well, we'll let the numbers decide, shall we? But it's being fought for and created by the wealthiest man in the world. And so I like its odds.